anime for Trashdwellers, and we're talking about Idoly Pride. Idol anime, fuck yeah! My pride and joy. Alright, let's get to it. It decides that in order for us to learn who everyone is, instead of the usual just chuck you into the idol group with no introduction whatsoever, it does so through a roll call. But it is very slow and awkward as the manager just calls out a member's name, waits for them to respond in their own cute and unique way, and then continue to do so. Except that there's only 8 of them and he's literally standing in front of them, so he doesn't need to perform a roll call. Now, you can forget about all of them because they are not in the rest of the episode bar 2 right at the end. No, because this is about the most important character of all. It's the manager's backstory. Here is the thing about idol anime. Managers and producers act as the self-insert in a series that is more about the love interests than you. So especially in shows about female idols, the male managers kind of take the back seat a lot of the time. They're just there. And occasionally a girl will say something sweet to them, but they are mainly background features to remind the audience that, hey look, see that little fella right there? That's you! So, having an entire episode about an idol manager's backstory is unheard of. So here's this dork who lives in the darkness, whilst the chick he has the hots for lives in the light, like he's straight out of some 90s grunge song. So this girl, Mana, decides to tell him that she wants to be an idol and, well, frankly, he looked like the type of guy who would know about the gacha idol system in this universe. He's even like, I'm not like that. You should fuck so-and-so. And she's just like, I know a creepy simp when I see one. The reason she told him this is because she wanted him to become her manager to the extent that she would only sign with her producer if he was hired on as her manager or minder or part of the company or whatever. And he is 17! This 17-year-old is handed a job on a platter because a cute girl had the hots for him. We have it, guys. We have our power fantasy idol show, which even though power fantasies aren't really my thing, in an idol context, it is so unrealistic that it does amuse me. Have you seen idol managers fucking? I was watching the Wave Vision reality TV beach episode, and look, I was literally excited for this like a week in advance because I'm a filthy, disgusting degenerate of a human, but the entire time I was just there like, who's that middle-aged man swimming too close to them to be some rando? And then when they're playing beach volleyball, it said that he was their manager. He's just there with these tiny skinny boyos playing volleyball with his fucking beer gut hanging out. Like, this guy literally doesn't give a shit. I was just in too much shock and awe over this man to even notice anyone else. So the gacha mechanics in this game is called the Venus Project, and Mana just smashes through to the top. They graduate high school, manager now a full-time employee at an entertainment agency at age 18. Fuck him! She goes on to perform in the semi-final and he muses, but I can only watch her from here, at the side. Yes, you are her manager, which is literally your job, to watch her from the wings. And then she hints that she's only dancing for him and him alone. Why don't you just date him instead of giving him full-time employment? Make him pay to see you perform like the girl boss you are. On the night of the final, manager can't come with her because he's got errands to run. So she's sent off by herself in a taxi and dies. Our main love interest is already dead. Manager goes around to all the spots the two of them used to hang out together, which was at school. So he just sneaks into the school during the middle of the night because that isn't breaking the law or incredibly creepy or disturbing. So all is depressed and lost, except that it isn't, because look who came back as a special waifu ghost just for him! So special, in fact, that he's the only one who can see or Yeah. So this is how our story starts, with a man in his early 20s having incredibly unhealthy coping mechanisms over the girl who was pretty much his entire life for 3 years straight. And she is right front and center on all the advertising for this show. Like, the main character in this show is a fucking ghost girl only the manager can see. Episode 2. So now they're holding auditions, and who turns up but Ghost Girl's sister? And if she passes the audition, it'd mean he'd be her manager, and that's what she wants anyway. Imagine hooking up with your dead girlfriend's sister. The audacity of it. Then this chick walks in on this girl's audition, and so they ask if she's auditioning today. And she's not. So they ask what the fuck she's doing here, but instead of answering with, I don't know, I was bored, aka the truth, no, that wouldn't make her special enough. So instead, she goes on about how her heart pulled her in the right direction. Her doki was speeding up, so she knew she had to follow her heart, and her heart is never wrong. Or you are having heart palpitations. But I have some good news, because it wasn't just the audience who hated such an attention-seeking response, but every woman in the scene too. Sister Chan bringing up that there are tons of girls trying and failing to break into the idol industry. Please take their plight, hard work, and dedication seriously, instead of just waltzing up to an audition and passing. But that's exactly what she does, because the men in the room, I guess, just assume that all women are led by their hearts, and therefore can't realize how vomit-inducing a statement that is. And she's cute, and she sings just like Manager Sun's dead idol girlfriend. She explains that she could suddenly just sing after years of not being able to, I guess implying that she inherited dead idol girl's voice after she died. And giving a reason as to why they only hired one voice actress to do both their singing voices. Not that Sister Chan can talk much about plight, since she is the sister of a famous singer and is auditioning at the same label said sister was signed to. And they both go into dorms, even though they both live near the agency. I can understand this for like late rehearsals and schedules, or because you do live far away, but the idea of living there like most of the time, if not all of the time, feels a bit silly. I complain, even though this is the standard in K-pop, it's a stupid standard. Fucking Shani slept in the same room together like the orphan family at the start of your protagonist's poor but love-filled backstory. Also, Miss Heart's all aflutter has some health condition. It better be heart related. It better be that when she follows her heart, she's actually on the cusp of a heart attack. The two girls pass the audition and are rehearsing together, and Heart Flutters is like, oh yeah, I'm not very limber because I'm not very good at sports. And Sister Chan has to remind her that in her job as an idol, it involves dancing whilst singing. So it's not cute for her to be bad at sports. It shows she's lazy and incompetent, and she needs to limber the fuck up. Then Heart Flutters starts talking about Sister Chan's famous sister, and it quickly becomes apparent from the way she's talking to her that she hadn't realized she died. And Sister Chan just awkwardly cut off that conversation. They get introduced to the other members of the group and the dorm they're staying in, and Manju-san reckons that he, a man in his early to mid-20s, is going to sleep in the same building as a group of teenage girls. So that obviously didn't happen, because even though a lot of idol shows are aimed at men, Love Live showed the potential audience that is women if you give your characters interesting-ish personalities and don't make it too lewd. So none of that going on then. Heart Flutter steps on and gets spooked by the Roomba, because of course she does. Ditzy Miss trying too hard to be the main character would definitely do something cute like get freaked by the vacuum cleaner. Episode 3. Sister Chan wakes up in a house full of girls, and I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Because Goldfish Brain here forgot that the idol group were living together in the big old magical mansion in the middle of the woods. Heart Flutters has the ingenious idea of conning the girls to get ready for the morning via holding their breakfast hostage until they're all ready. At the office, Manju-san is discussing with the head that their idol group is made up of diverse individuals, as diverse as a group of girls between the ages of 14 to 18 who all are good looking / similar looking can be, of course. There is a a member whose family owns some big business. And yeah, she reckons she's the center of the group because of her lineage, even though no one else has heard of her being the center. Sorry, sounds legit. All the girls gang up on Manja-san because they're sick of what they refer to as basic training, which is where they're given a dance studio and just told to do their own thing, because as Manja-san confesses, they don't have any trainers at this agency. A record label with no trainers? Well, this is going well. They want to start recording songs and he has to admit that, they don't have any of those either. There is nothing stopping them from re-recording some of Ghost Girl's old music. When they ask Manja-san if they can at least learn basic choreo to other people's songs for training, it's Ghost Girl who nags Manja-san into allowing them to, meaning everyone looks at him weird because he seems to be having a conversation with himself. This show is so weird. But I like Ghost Girl acting as the shadow manager. Go you! If only she didn't have to die, then she could just be their actual flesh and blood manager. Sister Chan asks him again, why can't she debut solo? And he explains to her that Ghost Girl was a special case where not only was she talented, but that she was a likable person, since according to him, they're rare traits to be present in one person at the same time. They get a new member and golly geez, it's Sister Chan's friend from school. She gives off strong, I'm here because my friend is too socially incompetent to handle large groups of people vibes, which I really love. The girls are discussing why they became idols, a great way for us to remember them all. It starts off strong with Harris-chan saying that she became an idol because she assumed, due to her name and class, it would be pretty easy to rise to the top, as she put it. Look. Everything she says, Drew. And I sure as hell am not going to forget that. But now it has left me confused as to whether she was picked for the group for being talented or being likable, because she doesn't seem to be either, Manager-san. There's another sister duo in the group, one who is constantly reminding everyone else who lives here to stop living like pigs. I feel you, girl. And the other sister that does not have her life, her mental health, or indeed anything together, and is barely able to keep it together during general conversations. Then Heartflight is mentioned her heart leading her hair, and since they're all girls, they're just kinda left confused as to what she meant. One girl who's like the no emotions character said she's here cause she loves idols, and someone says, hey, same as us too, and the look of disappointment on her face. Okay, I know in Love Live there's usually only one member who's there cause they're a diehard idol fan, but in the real world, you're just a basic bitch, sweetie. Sister Chan reveals that she's becoming an idol in her sister's stead, and then everyone starts gushing over her very dead sister, so she leaves. But good thing her emotional support friend is there to reassure them that don't worry, she isn't mad at you, she just leaves situations where she doesn't have the social skill set to react to them properly. Some idol duo come into their agency because one of the guys working there used to work at their agency, and during this fairly serious discussion, he asks, hey, want to watch our girls practice? And tense discussion over, they just happily help this group out with their dancing. Episode 4. Manager-san sees some girl just patting a cat on the high wall, who then proceeds to jump on him, and she can see Ghost Girl too randomly. After training with that other idol group, they realize the importance of seeing what other idols do, and so now they just watch idol concerts in their spare time. Even though it's pretty obvious they're more watching them because they enjoy watching idol groups perform. The group decides to ask producers what Ghost Girl's training routine was. Since she was so successful, they're hoping they'll be successful too if they go through the same strenuous training she did. And he's like, she practiced and her tutors, and they are amazed and fascinated by this useful information. Whilst Ghost Girl admits that, she kind of became popular and famous before she, became good at it. Manager-san is musing that, they're missing something from the group. It's almost like they're too good. And Ghost Girl's like, yeah, they need someone who's kind of shit, like me. And when Manager Son thinks kind of shit, well, he thinks of that girl they ran into the other day. Today she isn't on the wall playing with a cat, but instead watching the girl practicing her dancing in the middle of the fucking road. Glad to see that Truckun was on vacation that day. Or maybe she'd be too easy a target. He usually goes for people just as they're crossing the road, as opposed to the idiot just standing in the middle of the fucking road having their own little personal rave. Wall Girl mentions she likes dancing, and that's enough to convince Manager-san to hire her. No audition needed. And yeah, the big secret behind why she can talk to ghosts is simply, yeah, my fam can talk to ghosts and shit. Phew. Ugh. For a moment there, I thought you weren't actually going to properly explain anything. After a couple of could I speak to the manager moments from Sister Chan about the new girl, including the awkward, so I can see she's bubbly and hot. Is that why she was put in the group? Because we weren't bubbly and hot? She confesses that she notices how the group's more at ease with her around and better able to give critiques and ideas about their performing and stuff. And Manager-san mentions that Sister Chan is still important because she's their driving force and inspiration to, like, not be shit at their jobs, which is nice. It's always nice when this type of stuff is mentioned in an idol show in a positive manner as opposed to something evil, which does happen. Yay, idol anime. Producer Sun's talking to Ghost Girl about whether to make her own sister or that one kind of bimbo girl that so far only men have really liked as the leader of the group. And she's like, don't worry, I trust your opinion, which, hey, she may or may not have, because his opinion is to kick Heart Flutters out of the group. And I have to wait until next week to see whether or not it actually happens. Part of me feels sad. But then part of me remembers she's the shittest girl. No, not worst girl, because she isn't inherently a bad person. She's just a bit shit. So at the end of the day, hey, at least it's not one of the less shitter members getting kicked out. Unless she gets a solo debut, which would probably be the worst outcome in this situation. Episode 5. So now 2 other members are getting kicked out too, to start their own idol group. So it's Heart Flutters, the emotionless otaku, and then the little sister who really looks like she can't handle being in a group separate from her older sister. Her older sister's seeing this and the strain on her face, like she is going to be worrying about her sister 24/7 and not be able to properly function as a result. When Sister Chan asks producer San to please explain, he says that he had to separate her and Heart Flutters because they are too bright to be near one another, like the sun and moon, as he puts it. And then the others are like stars, just as important, but as he puts it, more distant. This works. It shouldn't, since if those two are so amazing, then why didn't Sister Chan get that solo debut she's been asking for? A distant? That's wank terms for shit. Oh man. But no, they buy it because they're women, aka they've been taught and pressured throughout the years that opposing things makes you a bitch. So here we are. Manager-san has also decided to add another 2 members to Heart Flutters group. One of them is that girl he creepily watched dance in the middle of the road, and the other one is an idol who was at the agency at the same time as Ghost Girl, but was never very successful. They make a joke about her age, since she introduces herself in a school uniform and says she's 17, and they're like, ooh, they're like, whoa, she's actually 20! 20! That is 3 years older, people! 3 years! She isn't that much older than the other members, especially since the next member to be introduced is 18! Only 2 years younger than her. During dance practice, Dance Girl who used to dance in the way of oncoming traffic is super anal and getting everyone practicing with no breaks and shit, and then giving them textbooks and marking areas they need to read in order to improve themselves. By the way, we don't get to see singing practice. It'd be great if they went from her being dance Nazi to struggling to hold a tune and giving up after 5 minutes. Anyway, this strict training is very hard on the stressed out little sister whose most enduring feature is how fucking pathetic she is. So having to do something, and a lot of it, it's all just a bit much for her. Everyone's just like, Dance Bus is a bitch. Until they see where she's been sneaking away to every evening because apparently she's too good to have dinner with them. Work. She's at work because unlike them, her parents don't support her becoming an idol. Therefore, she only thinks they will if she becomes the best, hence why she works like a Spartan and is forced to get a job since her parents don't financially support her, and I guess also because the agency isn't fucking paying her for her practice time? Dodgy. By the way, this will support me when I'm successful mentality doesn't always work. I'm pretty sure Amber, by the way, I don't like this racist bitch, I'm just bringing her up as an example, said after she debuted with FX, her parents were still like, we'll see. And though, yeah, FX ended in a fucking crash and burn they did not deserve, at their peak, they were really popular. And if SM gave them more albums and shit, that momentum would have continued. Fuck SM! After finding out about this, everyone realizes that she's not a bitch. She just wants to have a career doing what she loves whilst also still being on speaking terms with her parents. Oh yeah, and I guess so that she isn't living in poverty. Yeah, that's important too. So they feel a bit bad about their past opinions of her, but they still teach her to not be so intense during dance rehearsals. When older sister sees that not only has her little sister not had a mental breakdown from separation anxiety, but that she seems to be enjoying herself, she finally lets out a sigh of relief and can finally sleep at night. Episode 6. What I noticed in this opening today is that the two groups perform alongside one another in the opening, still saying as their two separate groups during the performance, which is pretty nifty. Now that all the drama from the members has been resolved, it's time for their debut! And Manager-san is shocked by their reaction because they aren't cheering and screaming with excitement. No, these girls are ready. They stand there with dedicated looks on their faces and ask the manager, what day? Like, they really needed a scene of them like running and screaming into battle to follow that up. Heartflutter's group gets interviewed, and when the 20-year-old answers, they're like, wow, ooh, you did an amazing job at answering that question, when it's not so much that she's great at answering questions, but more so that the others are so fucking socially awkward that they can't actually articulate or talk properly when being interviewed. During their rehearsals, everyone's talking about just how good Ghost Girl was at singing and dancing. Even though it's already been established that she really wasn't that good at it, she was just charismatic. Maybe it's just that thing where when someone dies, everyone just says nice stuff about them and kind of forgets about the bad stuff out of respect. That night, before their debut, Sister Chan's school friends there like, geez, what happens if I do everything wrong and ruin everything? Please don't jinx yourself and just go to sleep. Also, this girl just has a clump of hair that sits right in the middle of her forehead and is that close to falling in between her eyes. Just fucking brush it across like a sane person would. They perform at a little festival, the same stage that Ghost Girl debuted at, but I am almost certain her first performance was at her own high school. I swear to God that happened in the first episode. She's reminiscing how even way back then she was a true professional, whilst Menju-san remembers her being a bratty emotional mess to the extent that it was a miracle she even made it onto the stage. Menju-san says how he's here because he wants to get the same rush he did whenever Ghost Girl put on a successful performance. Excuse me? Where's your so that I can see their smiles, or so that I can help them bloom, or so that I can help them shine? Like, how the fuck are you a manager in an idol anime with some kind of selfish mentality where you are capable of thinking about things that are not your idol group? Well, I guess it's still not as selfish as the manager in 22/7 who's like, because this mysterious ancient wall told me to. Okay, so our groups perform. The performances are mostly done with CG and they look like lagging computer graphics and it's shit. Now the outfits. Not the outfits! This is something most idol anime shows pull off. It's nice, cute outfits to the extent that they're stylish enough to be a decent aspect of the show. Like, one of the good points of idol shows and one of the reasons I watch them is the fashion. this fucking train wreck, however. So Half-Lighters group, who are called Sunny Peace, have sun-themed atrocities. They are red and yellow and orange and brown, and they have vests and breast pockets and a corset things on the outside of their outfit and boots. Knee-high bright yellow boots with intricate bright red lacing all the way up. Oh yeah, and sunflowers at the knees. Don't forget the sunflowers at the knees. And stripes. Just so many stripes. Everything is striped and all finished with a big bow on the back. Ah! It's too gaudy. Way too busy. And the colors are too busy for this too. Like, they're not cute colors, and they definitely needed either black or white somewhere to tone it down. A disaster. Sister Jan's group, Moon Tempest, are still a bit too busy on the bodice, and the chiffon top part of their shoulders really shouldn't be patterned as well because it clashes with their bodice pattern. But when we had both groups on stage, nah. It was nowhere near as a mess as Sunny Peace's were. Oh, it's so weird because all of Ghost Girl's outfits were fine. And the ones they wear in the opening are these little white dresses with just like a little bit of color as an extra layer of skirt popping out. Which if anything is too simplistic and looks kind of bland. What the fuck is the costume designer of the series doing? They even put Heart Flutters for her rehearsal clothes, red shorts, and a pink polo shirt? What the fuck were they thinking? Dance Girl's co-workers all come to cheer her on since her parents don't give a shit, so that's cute. Episode 7. They've started performing in the gacha game and they're fucking smashing it, leaving their opponents in tears with some of the girls thinking, maybe making other girls cry makes us bad? During an interview, the interviewer is impressed to hear that the girls came up with the names Sunny Peace and Moon Tempest all by themselves, as if the sun and the moon wasn't a kind of cliched pairing you see fairly often. They're in a meeting, and Manju-san lets them know that he will be entering them in the new Venus tournament. And Harris-chan says with a lot of nuance, oh yeah, that's the grand final your sister was going to perform in before she died. Like, yes, everyone is well aware that Sister-chan's sister is dead. You did not need to bring that up. Sunny Peace accepts this challenge because, Heart Flutters feels her heart beating. I think it's supposed to be cute. But it feels very reminiscent of the joke in Mean Girls where that one girl can tell if it's raining via massaging her drenched boobs from said rain. After this meeting, Manju-san decides that since they've worked every day since debut, he decides to give them a day off because they deserve it, and not because it's against labor laws not to. They don't really do a whole lot on their day off. Some girls go for a walk, some go out for lunch. Harris-chan got to do her homework because who would have thought the rich child destined to land a position in her father's company no matter what wasn't motivated to study? The 6th Sense girl takes Ghost-chan out to the movies because Manju-san doesn't do jack shit with her. He just lets her follow him to work. Eventually, the 20-year-old sets up a little blow-up pool in the backyard because yes, this is the beach episode. I mean, technically, since they're not at the beach and it's only a small portion of the episode that takes place at the paddling pool. Plus, there's actually plot motivation behind it, so that it's revealed that Heart Flutters had heart surgery via her exposed scar. I'm assuming open heart, since a non-invasive heart surgery scar could probably be partially, if not fully, hidden under a bikini top, like Ten has, who since he got the hot titty tat over, has just been practically running here, there, and everywhere with no shirt on. Disclaimer, I was a fan of Ten's before this. I am not a perv. Well, I am, just not in this instance. Yeah, we don't get to see her scar, which for like every anime thriller / shonen jump fan is frustrating. Show me the depressing backstory scar. So now Sister-chan is worried that because Heart Flutters had heart surgery, she's unable to keep up with the physically strenuous career of an idol, even though the idea of heart surgery is to fix her heart. Therefore, if anything, it's proof that she's good to go. Like the Karen she is, she confronts Manager-san, who says that yes, they did make sure the leader of their successful idol unit would be able to perform without having a heart attack mid-performance, and therefore taking all the success from the group down the drain with her. Episode 8. Everyone is worrying about whether or not they'll make it to the gacha tournament finals, even though they have only shown us and only talked about winning. Like, if you have never lost a match before, then surely you should get through. And oh look, they do! Half-Blooded asks producer Sun to go to a doctor's appointment with her. And when she gets cut off telling him the date, I assumed that meant that later drama about it. But, spoiler alert, he makes it to the meeting later on in the episode just fine. The kerfuffle is Les Noir, the other idols from earlier on. Is there a more lesbian name for a pop duo than Les Noir? Who have arrived. Daenerys-chan and that airheaded floozy are like, yay, she's praising us because they're the dumb characters of this series that are unable to detect sarcasm. One of Les Noir's members tells Sister-chan that she's just a shittier version of her sister. And then she points to Heart Flutters. And why the fuck do you even sound like her sister when you sing too? And then she goes on some big spiel about how, well, I was a fan of your sisters right from the beginning. Was Ghost Girl just there listening on to this self-proclaimed super fan act like she knows better than her literal fucking sister? The girls make the smart decision to look up people's opinions about them on Twitter, which pretty much mirrors what the Les Noir member told them. After they read a bad opinion, their idea to fix it is to just look through Twitter for a good one. There are no good ones, you fools! It's Twitter for fuck's sake! When Menja-san goes to this aforementioned doctor's appointment, it is brought up that Heart Flutters has had a heart transplant. This changes everything! Okay, 1. She definitely had open heart surgery and therefore would have a massive scar. Fuck, let us see it! Everyone loves Zuko's scar because it makes him look like a bad boy and it's a constant reminder of his trauma, and we love trauma. Fucking show us a depressing backstory, Scar. 2. Transplants. In order to prevent the body from rejecting transplanted organs, people with transplants need to take a fuck ton of meds. I heard one lady say with a lung transplant she was on 40 different tablets, and a lot of those meds are immunosuppressants, meaning doing something strenuous like performing in multiple dirty venues would fuck your already fucked immune system and kill you. These people are some of the reason why medical practices have to be so clean, because even if it's something the average layman wouldn't catch or get sick from, people with transplants would. When you are wearing a mask to prevent the spread of COVID, it is so you do not literally kill people with transplants. I'm sure every person with a transplant has been having a simply grand time over COVID. So in this instance of being worried about an idol's health, there is genuine reason for concern. Menja-san tells Ghost Girl not to come into the meeting, trying to use the excuse that it's because it's an invasion of Heart Flutter's privacy, even though Heart Flutters is not even aware of the presence or existence of Ghost Girl, so therefore every time Ghost Girl is hanging around Heart Flutters, it's an invasion of her privacy. But it was just an excuse because it was for him to get out of the GP if Heart Flutter's donor was Ghost Girl. Yes! Because there are documented cases of people having slight changes in their personality to match that of their donor, who they often don't know anything about. Not sure if there's any real scientific backing behind that one, but hey, at least the anime is using a concept that's at least been seen before in real life. That's cool. Ghost Girl there, Gunbari mussing Heart Flutters, and Manager-san queries why she's so nice to Heart Flutters, but doesn't say anything nice about her actual sister. Heart Flutters feeling the guilt about the media calling her the reincarnation of Ghost Girl over her actual sister. So she tries to change her singing style, and Sister-chan just warns her not to before she accidentally starts singing with a black scent. When out for dinner, it's revealed Eras-chan has no money because her family cut her money off when they found out she snuck off to be an idol. When did this happen? She's just been real rich this whole time. When did the cash flow stop? And how was it not straight away? How long did it take her family to realize she'd been staying in a dorm and not wherever the fuck she was supposed to be? Do they just own too many mansions so it's hard to keep track of them all and who lives in which one? Surely she owns some family jewels or some other expensive item she can just sell off and problem solved. But yeah, she doesn't understand how money works and therefore used up all her pay. to have no money for even food. Like, Jesus, how bad are your finances? The older member is drinking wine. For fuck's sake, she is 20, not 50. She would be downing a bottle of vodka and possibly almost dying in the process. Sister Chan feeling bad that she isn't as talented as her sister since she basically became an idol to fulfill her dream. This she all relates to her school friend because even though she's in Moonbrism with her, she is really only there so that someone can support Sister Chan's emotionally awkward ass. But then she's like, nah, you're cool and shit. Fuck your dead sister. Sing Good for Us instead. And yeah, problem solved. Hooray, they win another gacha tournament against this trashy as fuck group in denim short shorts and caps. Like, yeah, no wonder you guys won. Episode 9. So now the media have caught on that Heart Flutter sounds exactly like Ghost Girl. So she just goes with it because publicity, man. Then internet rumors start spreading around to that Heart Flutters has Ghost Girl's heart. Not sure how, unless people went snooping about Heart Flutter's medical history, which is super dodgy, but hey, not implausible. Now, the press are hounding her over it, and producer Sun explains that in Japan, all organ donations are done anonymously. I am not sure if that's the case in other countries purely because I have heard of instances of people with organ transplants meeting the families of their donor, but even then that could have happened just through a good old bit of Facebook detective work, so who knows? Sister Chan brings up that before Ghost Girl died, she had a new song, which since she died, she never had a chance to perform publicly, and Sister Chan asks her to sing it. With this on her mind, she goes to the tiny shed that Manju-san lives in to say, no, the heart in her chest is Ghost Girl's because like everything in Heart Flutter's life, it's vague but cute, so she just fucking rolls with it. During this big tense argument scene, Manju-san says that Ghost Girl is in the room and then gets that one girl who can talk to her to come in. So in order to convince Heart Fighters that Ghost Girl is actually there in the room with them, Manju-san just brings in a second person to say, oh no, she's definitely there. Like, none of this is believable, but this is Heart Fighters we're talking about. She is the type of person who goes to a psychic expo and believes everything every one of those vendors has to tell her. When Heart Flutters brings up her, oh, my heart told me to be an idol. Not even Ghost Girl buys it, and it's her heart. Then she tells her to like, not steal her song. Like, even though she's dead, she still wants to be the one to perform it. And Heart Flutters says, okay, and performs it anyway. Because, oh no, it will be her last time using her singing voice. Yeah, I'm fucking sure it will be. Episode 10, we learn about a new rival group who is obviously available in the original gacha game. One of their members was only told when deciding to audition for this specific agency that the CEO is her fucking dad and quote unquote deserted his family in order to work. No. He left his family because he didn't want a family. I mean, come on, he's a rich guy. Like, so what if he worked all the time? He just let the maids raise the kids like most rich people do. Awkwardly enough, he lets her join. Whether it's because she actually has talent, whether it's because he doesn't want her causing a stir in the papers about his abandoned family, whether it's because he's just decided now that, hey, it would be neato to actually know who the fuck my daughter is, we'll never know. They will be up against Sunny Peace in the semi-finals, and Sunny Peace are shedding their skin of the Ghost Girl singing voice. Not only is Heartfighters going to change her singing voice, she's and the others are gonna debut a brand new song, and they're all working on the choreo and lyrics together because it's a Sunny Peace only song. No Ghost Girl influence allowed. By the way, Ghost Girl is slowly and painfully dying, instead of like in most media where when a ghost's wish is fulfilled, they just leave the earth in a satisfied poof of fog and light just cause. When Heartflutters tells the other members that she knows they'll win, they're like, is it because of your heart again? And she's like, no, I actually based this on an opinion on something that had nothing to do with my heart arrhythmia. Character development! They run into the new rival group who are mad that they aren't doing more Ghost Girl type songs because they fucking slap. We have new outfits. and they're still fucking awful. It's the same color palette, oh yeah, except with blue, because gee whiz, the main problem with the original outfits was definitely the lack of other colors. And it's not even blue, it is specifically those blue and white flowers you see on surf designs and clothing and such. So they're in a dress that's orange, with 2 layers of white and yellow frills, and the dress doesn't fully do up, so there's just a big brown bit of material there, and there's frilly white lace down the middle of it too. Oh, and they have a work shirt brown collar, and then 2 layers of clown frills in white and yellow, and then they have an ascot, and don't forget the blue flower at the neck, stomach, and shoe, just to tie it all off. It's like they just merged 3 different outfits together and thought that would somehow work. Groups perform, Sunny Peace wins, duh. But the other group gets acknowledged by her dad for doing real good, and she starts crying like, oh man, that is rough to watch. Seeing those daddy issues in plain sight is painful. During this battle, everyone talks about them putting on the best performance, like they couldn't have performed their basic J-pop song with little range and limited dance moves any better. Look, I feel I'm supposed to be impressed by this, but it's hard. Yeah, they did a great job, but there's plenty fucking better out there. As of writing this, I have just gotten a whole slew of shiny performances for their new track Don't Call Me, so my standards have been reset to ridiculously high. Episode 11! Ghost Girl is slowly and painfully passing on to the afterlife because Heartflutters just isn't following whatever her heart-fluttering heart does. And her sister is now being an idol because she wants to be an idol, not because she feels the burden of fulfilling her sister's dream. So Sixth Sense Chan's all upset, no, Ghost Girl, you'll die! And she's like, bruh, I'm already dead. And that member's like, oh yeah! Sister Chan meets up with one of the Les Noir girls who says, yeah, I originally got into the idol game for money, but then my bandmate informed me my greedy aura was too intense and scared away people, so I just became chill and that's how I made money. It's also revealed that their old producer left them to form his own company and ended up producing Ghost Girl. So he went from a cool rock duo to the most low common denominator idol out there. Sell out! Heartflutters ends up having the same convo with Sister Chan. Yeah, you were so stressed about fulfilling your dead sister's dream it made it hard to talk to you, lol. Sister Chan hanging with manager son. And he's like, yeah, your ghost sister stayed around for you. And she's like, no, she didn't. If she did, I'd be able to see her. And it really hits home that her own dead sister snobbed her for the guy she wants to fuck. And then Sister Chan hints that she has the hots for him too. No, ew, you're underage and he's a grown-ass adult. Please don't go for that angle. During the flashback of, ooh, who's your secret crush? Ghost Girl describes manager's son as ordinary, but always willing to help out others. For anyone watching feeling themselves seen in this self-insert character, like, no, you probably don't help out others. And if you do, it's so that you can get a reward for it, which means you're not really doing it to help others. Les Noir's outfits are kind of just, like, they're not terrible, but I feel tired and old looking at them. Also, Les Noir are just tattoo. Like, that is all they are. Guys, we finally have some nice idol outfits. Okay, but Moon Tempest skirts are a bit busy since they're made of like 4 different outfits, but their white military jackets with aqua pearl trimmings are nice. Not original in the slightest, mind you, but nice. Then all the light sticks for them whilst performing at aqua pearl just like shiny light sticks, and it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Yeah, Moon Tempest won, meaning it's them and Sunny Peace in the final. Like, they're both from the same record label. Like, fuck it, why even bother with prizes now? Just let them win in peace. Episode 12. Manji-san is there talking to Ghost Girl even though he can't see her or even feel her presence. Like, when this Ghost Girl eventually exercises herself away, he's just gonna keep talking to himself. The leaders come out and ask Manji-san if Ghost Girl's there with him, and she's not, but he just lies and says she's there anyway. Like, there's gaslighting, and then there's pretending you can talk to your dead sister gaslighting. The 2 CEOs of our main girls and Les Noir are there seriously talking, yeah, it was pretty close, but my team will win next year, about their fucking idol girl groups. They're pop stars, not football teams. It's the performance, like straight away. No chit chat like what opened the first step. Now we're straight into the performances. During Heart Flutters, she says she can feel her heart beating away faster than ever before. You're gonna give yourself a cardiac arrest. Slow the fuck down. Oh yeah, and her new voice, which is different from Ghost Girl's, is basically just the same voice but squeakier. At the end of Moon Tempest's performance, Ghost Girl reckons she better at least show herself to her sister once in the 2-year period she's been bumming around as a ghost. And who wins? Why, both! Both win! It's a tie, but considering they were both from the same company anyway, it wasn't really much of a competition to begin with. Even though Moon Tempest's song was cooler, and so was their singing, like, the 5 VAs had unique enough voices they didn't come out sounding like an AKB sound, if you get my drift. And hooray, they have won the competition halfway through the last episode. Why? 2 reasons. 1, because since it's the last episode, they actually have lots of performances. We get like 5 songs. Hooray! And 2, because they have to wrap up the romance. Remember the romance between Manager Son and Ghost Girl that I could literally give less than 2 shits about? During the romance wrap up, they make a big deal out of changing the program to get Sister Chan to sing a solo song. So I guess it was that last Ghost Girl song because that performance would have meaning, but honestly, who knows? Ghost Girl confesses that her dream wasn't to become the best idol. It was to turn Manager Son into the manager of the best idol. This is so fucking specific and shit. When it comes to wishing the best for people or pushing your dreams on them or living vicariously through them, no one ever thinks, gee, wouldn't it be neater to become a successful manager? At the end of the day, a manager is a surrogate mother for celebrities. Fucking lame. Plus, how many good managers do you know over diabolically evil managers? It's like wishing your son runs a bank that specifically funds fossil fuels and deforestation. Though there is Nam Isu, Taemin's manager. But as much as Taemin's turned him into like a mini celeb, we don't really know what he's actually like in his job. Like, the Shiny members are always getting fucking starved, and if he is encouraging that, then yeah, how nice a guy can he be? Then they confess their love to each other and she gives him a goodbye ghosty kiss. As much as I don't care, this is so frustrating. What the fuck was stopping you guys from hooking up when you were both alive? It'd be super easy to hide your romance with your manager because it's super normal to spend lots of time with them, especially alone together. The fans would never know. Then Ghost Girl quickly goes back to her sister's performance to pretend that yes, she did hear what a jolly good job she did performing that song, instead of having her chilly ghost tongue halfway down her manager's throat. Then it's the last performance, the group performance, where they still stay segregated in their 2 groups, which is kind of cute, but I just couldn't pay attention because of the god-awful outfits again. Honestly, they were so close to not being terrible, but once again, they were too busy. But what I have to remind myself is that they're made for a gacha, aka where people will pay like $200 or more for one card, and that one card has to look pretty fucking impressive to be worth it. So I guess one way the design department did that was to make the outfits as grandiose as possible. So the bodice is white and blue. Then I have the low-flowing side skirt of a different color. Sure, if the skirt's color was like a light blue or purple, then yeah, it looked really nice. But when it was orange or fluoro green, we've got this girl decked out in Mountain Dew colors to really get the fanboys going. During this last ep, I realized that we had been introduced to all the members of these groups, but since the focus had just been on the 2 leaders for the latter half of the series, I was really struggling to remember who any of these bitches were. Which is a shame because unlike the outfits, all their designs are really cute. And out of all the Idol Girl shows I've watched, I feel like this show has put in the most effort to make these girls look different from one another, which means, yeah, they don't really look all that different from one another, just more so than usual. And that was Anime for Trashdwellers Insufferable Weeb on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. Bye!